We just had a recent kuranda-sprouts seedsavers meet up here at my place in Speewah, and we're just going to go on a bit of a walk around and show everyone here, the members of the group, what we're doing. Maybe they've got some suggestions of what we can do differently and make improvements and so on. But yeah, we'll show what we're going on. So I guess on the veranda here I've sort of started playing around with some orchids, and just growing in the shade is where I've got some young seedlings that will eventually be planted out, succession planting out into my vegetable garden, which we'll go into a walk in soon. So I thought it's a good place to sort of start, just up here on the veranda. Of course, the members of the group always bring in plants and seeds that are shared amongst the group. People made their selections and things like that already. Cool, so we'll move on. We'll do a quick walk around vegetable plot at the moment, or Nat's plot, my plot, and our little Bubba Malo. Yeah, trying our best of what we can here in the cooler months of the year. So we've got generally all our fairly staple vegetables to make salads, a lot of your perennials, particularly like your Asian greens and things like that, and then just a few other random things which you'll possibly see. Here we have beetroot, we've got shallots, basil, we've got mint, we've got some carrots growing. The Roma tomatoes need a little bit of work over there, but then in the main vegetable plot, heaps of lettuces, multiple chilies, tomatoes, okra, tree capsicums, zucchinis, that Ceylon spinach, sweet potatoes, eggplant here, which have been quite a prolific bearer, the Black Beauty variety. Little, not so much a herb spiral, but some herbs growing in the middle there. Got coriander, parsley, flatleaf parsley, dill, some more basil in there as well, Thai basil, variety of things. That was the first garden I started with when we moved here. When Cyclone Ida passed by 3 years ago, there used to be a grevillea tree standing there. That got knocked over, and from the ruins of that grevillea is where my garden started out. And then as the years progressed, it kind of just added. First I built a garden at the back here, and then I thought we'll build another one here, but also to play around with a bit of vertical space. So I used an old swing set to create more space in the garden. Over the past summer I've had pumpkins growing on here, I've had watermelons, stripped that all back and now using it more for your beans and snow peas and things like that. Again, just at the foot of that, using it to grow more lettuce, some more varieties of tomato, playing around with a type of sort of mini trellis system, these little pyramids, which I hope just to keep the plants growing up in the centre, let it overhang so the plant itself doesn't fall on any of the veggies growing nearby. Up some of the old posts here, just running a yellow dragon fruit. On the other post I had a red dragon fruit, which gave us fruit for the first time this year, and we'll grow a lot more other fruits down in our orchard as well. The back garden here is a bit more established, so this is where I have a lot of the perennials growing. Things like sambung, Okinawa spinach, sweet leaf, lemon hibiscus, a few other random things at the back. I've just recently planted some Egyptian spinach and some Ethiopian cabbage. I think I've got those around the right way, as well as some amaranth. And again, just random things growing in amongst here, Lebanese cucumbers, got a little plot of corn, again to harvest. We generally we've got enough to keep us going here. We give away stuff to friends, or if we have a surplus of things, like with my Lebanese cucumbers, I often turn it into bread and butter cucumbers, which get stored in the pantry, so we've got year-round supply. Same with our corn, when it comes, we'll take it off the cobs and in the freezer it goes.
Beautiful.
Cool, so that's, I guess, the vegetable part of it. Towards the back of the garden, I've got a variety of host plants for butterflies. My job is the head gardener at the Australian Butterfly Sanctuary in Kuranda. So I've taken a few cuttings and that which we grow here, and so a lot of the plants that we are growing that host the caterpillars and butterflies at my work we have here.
Wonderful.
So within the garden here have things such as Passiflora foetida, which is the host plant commonly for the coruza butterfly, as well as orange lacewing, red lacewing does use it. 3 types of Hemagraphis, flat, curly and pointy, often for the Australian lurcher butterfly, as well as another one called the chocolate argus or chocolate soldier. The vines that are just running up the tree here is your Aristolochia tagala, which is the host plant for the Cairns birdwing butterfly, which I think everyone up here is quite familiar with, one of the most spectacular butterflies that we have. And even the tree itself, which I have just cut down to allow more shade coming in, is called a Glycidian. That tree is a host plant for the Hercules moth, which is the world's largest moth.
Wow. Have you seen one of those here?
I haven't seen the actual moth itself. There's a few caterpillars of the birdwing on the field of leaves there of the Aristolochia.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen the moth itself on this tree. The moth also does eat the bleeding heart, which you see on the fringes of your rainforest, and that generally is the more preferred of the 2 food plants, but they'll happily also eat the Glycidian. Our common name is a cheese tree. It has little fruit on it that look like little wheels of cheese.
Oh, right.
Your Glycidian.
And is that the Dutchman's pipe?
Yeah, another common name, Dutchman's pipe is your Aristolochia tagala.
But it's the native one, not the one that...
Yes, not the poisonous one.
Yeah,
Again, also here, small food plants, the low-growing one, Assistacia, or creeping foxglove, is a fairly staple. It is an imported plant. We use it for at work for our common egg fly and our blue-banded egg fly species of butterflies and caterpillars. But there are a few other butterflies that do like laying their eggs for the young to munch on as well. Again, it can be quite invasive. Your Senna alata is the host plant for the lemon migrant butterfly. So they generally like the young soft tips. They're not in season at the moment. Ideally, get rid of the flowers before they do go to seed, because in WA and Northern Territory it is a declared weed. So it has that potential. So if you have some of these plants that are non-native, just to manage them a little bit better. So just basically trying to introduce a few butterflies into the veggie garden. They're probably not the best of pollinators, but they're not the worst, so they're good to have around, and of course just having the colour in your garden
Gorgeous.
is just a nice thing to have. It sort of pretty much covers the vegetable garden. I guess arrowroot there again, one of your perennials. So just a good mix of everything that sort of hopefully sustains us for our life. I change it around a little bit. Come summertime, a lot of these things either will bolt seed or can't cope in the heat. So I'll be planting different vegetables that better suit us.
Yeah,
How long
great.
ago did you plant the corn?
Corn's been in maybe 6 weeks. Maybe not that much, maybe only 4 weeks. Haven't got a date on it, but it grows pretty well. Just got to keep the water up to it, and it likes the application of a bit of dynamic lifter added to it every 2 weeks or so. Just keep sprinkling a little bit around the base, just to keep the nitrogen going into it to get a good harvest from it. So that's the veggie garden part of it at the moment. We'll take you around to the shade structure I built. Is just where I have fruit tree seedlings.
So you got some wing beans there.
Yep, the wing bean or asparagus seed. Then I got some seeds from one of the members of the Seed Saving Network back in November, I think it was. I only got 2 or 3 seeds actually and planted the one there, and it's growing great.
It is. They're really tasty too, hey?
Yeah, I use the young ones in salads.
And the flowers too?
Yeah, and we chop them up as well and cook them in our dog food as well. Our dogs eat very healthy.
You can eat these flowers too, the wing bean flowers.
So
And
that's
also they
new to
have
me.
a root, and they grow back from the root as well.
Cool. Okay, you learn something every day.
Yeah, they're a really valuable plant in the Pacific region. They've got a purple wing bean, which we're trying to get the seeds happening again in our area.
Needs a little bit of a tidy up in here. I guess it probably is tidy, but it just needs a little bit more work. In the past, I've grown a lot of tropical, subtropical fruits from seed, whatever I can manage to get my hands on. And I used to have a stall at the Coa markets that I was selling seedlings at. But as you can see, all the ones on the left-hand side there in the silver pots kind of need to be taken out of and transplanted into some larger pots and singled out a bit more. Things just kind of got a little bit out of hand when we had our young daughter Malo 9 months ago. So time is hard to manage. Sometimes my partner and I both work full time, so just trying to keep on top of things is difficult at times. So we're just trying to do the best we can with the hours that we have.
It's beautiful what you're doing.
More of the Passiflora fetida growing along the fence line here. So both the fruit itself, I haven't got any there, but the little orange fruit, which normally these green ones turn into, can be used as bush food. Doesn't taste that good.
No, right.
Some can be a little sweet, but generally they're fairly bland in flavour. Just a white flesh, same sort of black seed inside as your common passion fruits. That's all part of that same family. And again, a lot of these things I do grow here because at times, although we're trying to be self-sufficient at our work, we do have to harvest sometimes from the wild or from other public donations. So if I've got it growing here as well, I can just take some on my way to work, and that's my job done. I don't have to drive too far from it. And of course, having it all here is attracting the butterflies to my property.
Yeah,
What kind of butterflies for this one?
That's generally for the cruiser butterfly, is the most common one, but it can also be fed to the red lacewing and the orange lacewing butterfly.
It's always habitat for all other things as well.
Yeah, probably around the backside, but a random passion fruit vine just took over. Probably would have thrown an old passion fruit into the garden, and it just took over a japoticaba tree, which is what's underneath it. And since December, this thing drops about 10 fruit a day. So add that up, you're talking in the vicinity of probably 400 odd fruit, maybe plus. It's been crazy the amount of fruit it's given us. I'm kind of waiting for it to finish fruiting so I can get my japoticaba back. But as you can see, it just keeps giving more and more green fruit, so it's probably, I don't know, maybe got another month or so in it, hopefully, before I can get my garden back. Generally, it's more of an aesthetic garden in there.
You've got all your rosellas.
Jasmine, yeah, but just on the side here, we've had rosellas since late last year as well.
Baby bathwater rosellas they are.
Yeah, or we recycled the water from the baby bath. It got tipped on there every day.
And how many lots of jam have you made out of that?
Oh, good. Heaps. 4 batches of jam easily. Most we just give away to friends. And you can still see it's still covered in rosellas. So
I just got lazy.
Have you tried drying the leaf?
So a good location.
No. A friend has told us that we should do that.
Yeah.
We're thinking about doing that. We've got a dehydrator.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. We're going away on Friday, so
yeah.
If anybody wants to take
so
rosellas,
yeah,
feel free.
really abundant crop of rosellas this year.
Yeah, wonderful.
And yeah, we'll keep walking around this place. So generally it's a fairly aesthetic garden in there. There was a few gingers, and I got some turmeric in there in amongst it all. But yeah, it was mainly designed. We called it a Buddha garden. It has a Buddha figurine in the front when you're looking out from the shed. But it was something that was established here before we came to the property. I've just added a few plants here and there.
A tamarillo?
Yeah, tamarillo, a red tamarillo. I planted that. It's the last few fruit on it now. But again, gave us some good fruit over the year, and it's just starting a new flush of growth. So hopefully it's established well enough now, and next year the crop will be even better.
Tell me about the moth that you saw there that we thought were you thought were humming.
Oh yeah, an interesting one on the jasmine, the night blooming jasmine. A couple mornings ago, I woke up, was just doing the dishes, and looked out the window, and I thought, there's a hummingbird going from flower to flower, darting about and trying to, but I couldn't figure it out. It was only about an inch and a half long. And I asked Nat, being an ecologist and she's definitely said there's no hummingbirds in Australia. They're just not possible. But a little bit of research later, a bit of Googling and finding things out, found out it's actually called a hummingbird hawk moth.
Wow.
And yeah, and it flies similar to a hummingbird where it can just hover in places and dart about, and its proboscis acts like the long extended beak of a hummingbird.
Wow.
So yeah, it was something I had never encountered before. So it's very different, and obviously generally moths are a night flying insect. So I think it was just lucky to catch it in that first little bit of light just before it did become a bit too sunny.
Yeah,
And I
gorgeous.
did that for a couple of mornings. I think we were up a little bit later today, but who knows, it probably was doing the same thing. It knows where it could get some good nectar from.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so something very unique and a bit different. Just a few citrus trees that were planted here prior to us coming in. Dwarf lemon has usually always been an abundant cropper. The emperor mandarin here has got a few that are just ripening on it now, and there was a lime tree as well, but it's probably in a bit too much shade there at the moment. Down on the gully here, at the edge of the forest, yeah, we've done so much work with the poppy in the 3 years. Lantana used to come out to about here. The old water crop there. It's just lantana and scrub and yeah, just a mess. So plenty of time on the tractor, pushing it all back, and then within that we regained our water trough for our livestock. And then on the fringes here, I've just planted it out with some of the trees I've been growing and some suckers I've been given. So we've got just sugar bananas, red Dhaka bananas, bay leaf, there's some coffee growing in there, some sour sops, papayas, more sugar bananas, and these are cacaos. I think Helen and Jack were asking about it earlier on. So generally they're only young at the moment, got three there. So yeah, the cacao often made, the South Americans made chocolate out of it, but the fruit itself, when harvested, is actually really nice with white flesh around the seeds, and really nice.
Tasty.
So they make the powder out of the leaves?
No, they wait for the seed pod, which is like a long tube thing, to dry out, and then the seeds is processed and they make
within the pod, so they discard the pod.
discard the pod. Yep. But yeah, prior to that drying process, the flesh that is around the seeds can be eaten like a regular fruit, and it's actually really nice.
Yeah, lovely.
Not chocolatey tasting.
Not at all. No, it's like a
Tardy taste
like
for these.
tarty, but a bit sort of sweet, a bit lemony, lemon meringue sort of. Yeah, it's hard to describe. But
Yeah.
it's quite nice. It's
That's great.
really nice.
They were in the news the other day that they were quite valuable.
Yeah.
That cacao has dropped in price dramatically in the last week.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so there are a lot of cacao farms. A friend of ours owns about an acre or half an acre up on Mossman.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
And there's a bloke up there that harvests the actual fruit for her, and he processes it and makes cacao. But it has dropped in price, something like $1,000 or something like that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
Probably organic is
this
sought
was
after.
biodynamic they're
Wow.
making, so the bloke, he did all the harvesting and did
Yeah,
all the work
wow.
for them.
Got them from Rainforest Station in Kuranda, which is owned by the same business as I do. So they grow on the fringes of the forest there. So I just took some suckers one day and planted them out here. They actually grow quite a tall banana plant, and the banana itself, I'm not sure if people have eaten them, a little bit more drier in flavour. Definitely not as ideal as of course your Cavendish. Valeriana, which is the host tree for the Ulysses butterfly as well. So I think a lot of people know that Ulysses have been in decline over the last few years, and even our breeding programs at the butterfly sanctuary, we've still been very unsuccessful in getting them through. So if anyone can source the melicopes and have properties to start planting
Where
them
do you
around.
source them from?
We do sell some at the Butterfly Sanctuary.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think Cacon's in Kuranda as well. Sell
Yeah,
seedlings
Kuranda
as well.
Conservation,
So
they're in the
pretty
Kuranda
much-
paper.
Probably
Yeah.
even Uruguay Nursery as well.
Aren't they the Ulysses tree or something?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
post plant for Ulysses.
Yeah, so they call them a Ulysses tree, don't they? And you get a dwarf and you get a tree.
Yeah, kind of. There's
Evodia.
Yodia. Yeah.
Evodia.
Yeah, Euodia was like an older name for it, and now it's been broken down into like Melicope elleriana, and there's also a Melicope rubra.
Right.
The Melicope rubra is the shorter, more dwarf tree of it. Also does host it, but if it has the choice, it would prefer the elleriana version of the Melicope.
Do they go for the flower pod or do they go for the actual leaf?
No, the leaf. So they, of course, they generally will lay their eggs on the younger leaves,
Yeah.
and the younger instars of caterpillar, like the first, second, third instars, will often eat the softer stuff. And then once they move into the fourth and fifth instar, you'll tend to find them on the more mature leaves before pupating on the plant itself. But the these elleriana, it's a rainforest tree, also called corkwood, is its common name. But they can grow to 30 metres, so it's quite a fast-growing rainforest tree. So if you've got the space,
They obviously don't mind the sun because that one's in.
yeah, generally, yeah, they are a rainforest tree, but full sun, like all ours at the Butterfly Sanctuary are full sun.
Okay.
And yeah,
But they will grow in the rainforest.
they try to get through the canopy.
I think they do come in tree and dwarf size now, don't they?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
I think we've got the dwarf size
I
and
don't know if it's the same.
Unless it's the rubra, which is a slightly smaller leaf and a bit
Yeah.
more rounder leaf. They said it still hosts the
The
Ulysses,
pink flowers.
but yeah, not as ideal as
Does
the
it have a
Elleriana.
smell
Not really, that I know of. The leaf or the.
as it's flowering? You know, the flower burst.
I haven't gone and actually smelt it. The flower burst is so short. Yeah, I haven't noticed. It has these little bursts of pink flowers sort of
Yeah,
off
on
the
the
branches.
on the branch.
Yeah. Ready now to put it back into our rotation for the dry season. So our cows here, Shira Lee was our mum milker. So she was about 8 or 9 years old. Nat used to, when we got Shira Lee, she had a 1-week-old calf. So Nat was a diligent milker every morning. We'd often get
Until about a month before Marlo was born.
so we were getting about 8 to 10 litres of milk per day. And then from that, we were
And
giving
she
a
was
lot
supporting
away. We
two
were
calves as
making
well.
cheeses, experimenting with things. And we bought a Blossom here. She was 2 weeks old when the other one was 1 week old. So that was like a surrogate calf put on. We did initially also have plans to have her as a future milker as well. She's Frisian cross brown Swiss. That is a bit more of a tank, but with that sort of that hybrid, we've found that she's actually quite tick resistant too. Whereas like our Frisian here, Bob, he's just recently joined us in Shira Lee, and even Shira Lee's son used to get covered in ticks, but there's something with just that the mixed breeding has offered us some sort of tick resistance. Well, we'll have our other 2 cows back in calf to get milk production once again. That kicks off our cheese production, and then also succession some 18 months, 2 years later. Again, if there's one of those 2 calves, will be the next one to go into the freezer. So it's all part of what we're trying to do to be self-sufficient in a way. We've got our vegetables, now we've got our meat. We also used to kill a lot of our poultry. We played around with ducks and turkeys. Now we're just down to chickens, the less messiest of all of them. So we still kill our roosters, but giving up on the other forms of poultry. But beef seems to be easy, fills the freezer pretty quickly. So that's what we're doing with our cows. So you can see that they love it here, and we just move them around.
The pasture looks really lush. Is it always looking like this?
Generally, yes. Yeah, we're in a good part of Speewah here that we have fairly high rainfall, similar to Cairns, and with the Kimiticola brachyara, which is the brachyara Kimiticola, which I'm not sure which way around it is generally a cow pasture, and it tends to stay green all year round.
And you rotate the paddocks?
We do it just when we think it's right. So we keep an eye out, like these cows will probably spend another 2 weeks in here.
Yeah. It used to be when our other steer kept getting out, then you know that the paddock needs to be rotated.
Yeah. So yeah, if they were starting
out
to
and-
breach the fences, you know that they were searching for something else, and then we'd move them into one of the other paddocks. So here, this will be. It was 2 paddocks. We're going to change it. It will be another 2 paddocks, and then we have 2 paddocks back around the front, which you'll soon see. And also now in between, I've also built a few other fence lines, so we can put horse in, and yeah, maybe even later I'll finish up in the orchard, and that will be another area for the horse. So technically 4 paddocks and another 2 areas that are sort of paddock areas, but I wouldn't let the cows in because they'll just eat all my fruit trees. So it's not going to happen. Okay, that fence is off.
Yeah, the fence is off.
Yeah.
I've put turn both fences off.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we'll keep walking around here. Things we do have to manage particularly well is our water supply. So us, for water, depending on the position of the shed, we only have a 7,000 litre rainwater collection, and our other main storage is the concrete tanky, which is powered by the windmill. So windmill bore. So it is a bit old. We do need a bit of work put onto it, and so it doesn't work as efficiently as it could do. So we have to really manage the water that we do have. Ideally, in a perfect world, that would be removed, and you'd probably get a solar pump put on. That's the best scenario then, so that you'll have unlimited water coming from your bore. Other things off grid, you might be able to see it on top of the roof there. You catch a bit of glimpse of the solar panels. So we have a 3 kilowatt system, 3 kilowatt panels up on our roof, which also then feeds into a couple solar charge controllers and a 4 kilowatt inverter, and a battery bank that's about 18 kilowatts. So for a family of 3, we find it quite good as long as we manage our power effectively, do what we can during the daytime, and conserve what we can at night. So yeah, other than that, the electricity, I guess, is generally for our bigger appliances. Our hot water is via instant gas, as well as our cooking is gas as well. So a mixture of sort of everything here, and it's just a matter of managing it all to work the best for us.
Cool.
Panama reds, Panama yellows. So it's a great one if you can sort of source that.
What's that one called again?
No, I've added this one just recently, a lang lang tree. Again, it'll grow to quite a large tree, and it's what they take create like the oil essences out of. So apparently, what I know of it and research done, it grows into a nice tree with beautiful blooms of flower with like impressive aromas and everything. So I'm adding it there for firstly added shade from the west to the shed, and then just to be a nice spectacular tree, just to have
Fragrance in the wind.
and the fragrance, fragrance when it is flowering.
What do you call it? Lang lang?
Lang lang, Y-L-A-N-G, lang lang. You often see it in like essential oils and things like that.
Yeah, if you go to the Edmonton Botanical Gardens, they have them there.
Yeah.
That's a great garden. They've got so many fruit trees. It's over 100 years old, and they're protecting it. And we had a seedsavers meeting down there.
There's a star apple, there's like a bullock's heart, custard apple being grown here. There's got a couple sapotes, different varieties, an early fruiting and a late fruiting. Down further there's carambola, there's loquats. You've got your carrot tree or your bunch of rosea here. Further in, there's a few old bush guavas, there's guamachamas, wampy is down in there, there's an olive tree, not that it'll ever produce any olives with the climate, prefers the Mediterranean.
There was a woman growing olives in Cairns.
Successfully?
Yeah.
And for eating or for oil production?
She used to pickle them, yeah.
Yeah, okay, interesting, yeah. So that tree that's there, it's been probably 10 years. I think they are a very long-lived tree, so maybe it does need a few more years. But even just from what I know of it, because they do like a dry Mediterranean summertime is when they generally do fruit, and that dryness gives the fruit its flavour. If it has too much water in that, they just say it becomes quite bland, quite insipid in flavour. Probably fine if it's just used for an oil production, but as far as eating, you need to choose a nice eating olive, but ideally you need that climate that is best suited for them growing. Our chook pen has now just become one giant enclosure. In the past we did used to breed 4 types of chicken. It just all got a bit too much, so we got rid of a lot, stopped the breeding. Now just basically gone for eggs.
Because you had the 2 lots when we were here.
Yeah. Now it's sort of just all into one, moved everything into the one. So they're random homes, they just choose where they want to sleep. And yeah, our chooks now simply for eggs. And hopefully we'll sell some eggs to people who are in need. We'll almost finish up. This is one of our horses, Bambi, lovely Arabian. We're getting a Clydesdale as well that's getting broken in by friends of ours in Spiwa at the moment. Hopefully Rainbow, a Clydesdale, she'll become a bit of a workhorse on the property, as well as again just another friend to have around that to also ride, as well as likes riding Bambi. You can see, not sure if you did flick up there before, Lisa, that's some of the chooks that we do have just resting up in the shade. So your Plymouth Rock, the black and white striped bird. One of the roosters coming towards us now. The browner, black coloured ones are your Barnavelders. So both the varieties there are good layers and a dual purpose bird. So big enough to be considered a meat bird. Probably not as ideal as like your white Cornish cross, sort of your common meat bird. But yeah, roosters are good size to eat, and yeah, generally good layers as well. A few other randoms in amongst there. And you can see just in the background as well, we talked about we had other paddocks, so we have 2 more paddocks that we have in rotation for our horses and cattle. And we're going to basically take them to the fringes of the cleared land of the property, and then further on that makes up the majority of the property is rainforest, taking and leading to our next door neighbour, Barron Gorge National Park. So it's a lovely spot to be. Very, very quiet, very, very peaceful. For now, I wouldn't like to be in any other place. You've seen that there's not a neighbour in sight, and that's a nice way to live. Cool, so yeah, thanks everyone for coming out today, and I hope that you have enjoyed the kuranda-sprouts meetup and the tour through the garden and paddocks and meeting our livestock and things. And everyone knows it can be done. Like, I work full time, my partner works full time, so the hours that we're able to contribute really are my weekends and a few hours of an afternoon if I get the chance when I'm not looking after my 9-month-old daughter. So with a bit of hard work and perseverance, this can be achieved by everyone. And I just would love to think what it would be like if I did suddenly, miraculously, not have to go to a paid job and could spend time here, and what this place really could become. But yeah, a few hours here and there, you can make it happen.
Yeah, wonderful. Beautiful work. Thanks so much for having us.
That's fine, Lisa. Thanks, kuranda-sprouts.
Beautiful.